want to tell the people who you are?
Oh, hello, people. My name is Melanie. I'm a lifelong medium, and I teach people how to own and access their intuitive and empathic sensitivity as their greatest gift. And so I've been teaching for a while. I've been working in a mentorship space with clients, and I used to work at a psychic school. Olivia and I met during our intuitive training. It's kind of like a graduate course, really.
Yes.
And when we met each other, we were like,
mediumship education.
yeah, just instant best friends. So that's a
We
little
were
bit
like,
about me.
not a past life from Lemuria that I see. Are we best friends? Yes.
Yeah,
That's how I
100%.
remember it.
100%. That's how it went down.
Peyton's actually in here. She's already in the program with us. Yay, Peyton!
Oh, hi, Peyton.
And we have Sona, and
I
we
didn't know.
also have Shadow here today. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, nothing. I was just playing with the settings. I didn't realize that we have settings.
Yeah, you can filter yourself on a live.
I didn't realize that. I was like, man, it's like a little touch up.
Yes. We're getting ready to launch our intuitive school. It is an education program for those who are sensitive and who are neurodivergent, who want to experience a life where that's not a burden. It's more of a blessing and an ability, really, that we teach you to work with. So this is called Awakening Sanctuary. Our school is Awakening Sanctuary.
Yeah, so we're really excited to announce Awakening Sanctuary because it's a little bit different than a lot of stuff that's out there right now. It is intuitive development and psychic development, as well as learning to manage your ability to be highly sensitive and not have to become the effect of that in the world. It's also somatic regulation practices, which are so crucial when you are a highly sensitive person. Olivia also will be offering breathwork and a lot of really magical different pieces that she is very skilled at.
Why, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something that's really incredible about Awakening Sanctuary that I know I haven't done a great job of talking about is we're combining the intuitive development with the somatic practices. And I don't know anyone who's doing that at this level and in this in depth, really. So I think it's going to be really cool to support people in both the aspect of spirit and body.
As Shadow agrees.
Yeah, I'm going to let Shadow out. Man.
The other part to this that I think is such a big piece is that you can have training from other modalities and have different experiences from, yoga or, maybe ritual practice or dream work or any of those other things, Reiki. You can take all of that and bring it into the space and just take all of your information to kind of the next level. It is a way to really integrate that information. And a lot of people come to me personally in my practice, as a psychic, as a medium, and they have all this different training and they don't know how to kind of integrate it into their daily life. It's not coming through in a way where they can express it and really have it in day to day where it's like fully integrating. I don't know how else to say that. And it's like they have the information, but it's not a part of them. And so a lot of what we're doing in this space is we're using energy work tools to take the information that you have and start to integrate it and embody it.
And also to really, I love that you're talking about that. I wrote an email about this because I think such a big piece of the value of this is really like finally feeling present in like the beauty and the power and the magic of who you already are. I think a lot of people are looking for that, especially if you're sensitive, especially if you're neurodivergent. There's not much in the world that teaches us how to feel good within ourselves. There's a lot in the world that wants to take us out of ourselves, but that's where we hit a lot of anxiety and depression and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders is in that energy that really pulls us outside of ourselves. So in this intuitive training, you're really learning to bring the spirit into the body in a way that allows you to feel good in the present moment. And you're not always going to feel good in the present moment. I want to be clear about that. But when you don't feel good, you recognize that it's just an energy that you hit, and you actually have the ability to work with whatever you need to work with in order to come back into that experience of goodness and connection.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I think the other piece to that is really that we're so programmed in society to think that there's something outside of ourselves that is going to give us the answer. And what we're doing in this training program in Awakening Sanctuary is really to teach people how to find their own answers through looking at energy and sensing energy and reading energy, and the ability to shift those states and come out of a place of feeling maybe stuck or lost because you're managing energy that's really not yours, or you're taking on information from the outside that says, once I have the house, once I have the job, once I have the relationship, I'll be happy, I'll be complete. And oftentimes people get all of those things and they have all this wild success, and then they're like, wow, I am still so unhappy. What is the thing? What is it? And the thing is you. It's you. The magic is you, and it's you coming into the ability to be there with yourself, be in the present moment, visualize what you do want in your life, and have a really clear idea and image of what direction you want to head in, and to trust yourself. And so a lot of this training is going to be helping you to be able to do that, because we're not going to be giving you your answers, we're just going to be teaching you how to find them.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point, is we're not, like, I think when you think of like education or school, it's like the teacher telling you the way that things are and you writing things down. And that's not what this is. This is, here is the ability to see energy and to read energy. Now look at all these different dimensions of energy and find your answer. So it's not necessarily traditional teaching. It's more of developing tools and then being in the experience of like relating to those tools and to the world for yourself. One thing that I know we talked about before we came on live today is just discussing the way that these, like the empath experience, I'm reading right now, I'm reading my notes, the empath experience and how that can often create a sense of feeling like we need to hide ourselves away from the world. Or I know that in a lot of people who have come to me to work with me, they just get overwhelmed by life. They get overwhelmed by large groups. They get overwhelmed by even interpersonal connection. It just kind of like maxes them out. So these tools really allow you to take your power back, especially in those interpersonal relationships. And often I think what is happening is there's a lack of boundaries. And so that's a huge part of this work, is not only learning to set a boundary, because I think that can be really vague. It's like, how can you see the boundary? How can you recognize when the boundary is being crossed? Because that's, even in somatic work, that's such a huge piece of it, is being able to stay present with yourself as that boundary is being crossed. Because I think for most sensitive people, we're pretty we're pretty in the practice of just like, as soon as the boundaries cross, we're like, well, see ya, I'm gonna dissociate now. And so these tools really allow you to like hold your space for yourself, and boundary work is such a huge part of that. Let me stop talking.
No, I think you're totally right. It definitely is. And it's such an integral piece. And as somebody who's sensitive, we get so used to kind of accommodating the people in our lives and the people in the world, and nurturing and caring for them, and not really thinking about, what do I need? There's so many people that I read this past weekend at the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo that just needed to take a step back, because they didn't even come second on the list. They came fourth. And it was just this reminder that, you know, as sensitive beings, we tend to really care a lot about everybody else. And it doesn't allow us to, I know I have my crystal right here. It doesn't, let's share. It doesn't allow us to really come into this space where we can step back and feel comfortable saying no and feel comfortable saying, you know what, I would love to do that. Right now I'm at capacity. Um, and that's one way you can start to have a boundary is by voicing that and telling people when you really mean no. But there's so much more to that dynamic. There's so much more energy and there's so much more at play that we're a little unconscious to. And so sometimes it's about getting to those levels of energy that we might not recognize. Like, why are we not saying no? What are we afraid of? Or why do we feel uncomfortable saying no? Were we made to feel uncomfortable, or were we taught that it was bad, that we would be punished if we said no? So there's a lot of different pieces. Until you get to those pieces, you're going to kind of just keep repeating that pattern.
I think from a relational level, and this is what I've seen in my work with people, a lot of the time, the reason that we struggle to put ourselves first or to say no is because in our early childhood, there was a dynamic of, in order to get my needs met, I have to sacrifice myself. Ooh. Feel that.
Or even just being like born as a woman, you're expected to be the caretaker.
Yeah.
You're expected to be the homemaker. You're expected to be the one that everybody comes to, and you're supposed to take care of that first. And so a lot of us have that programming, right? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's a really good point, because I mean, we literally have the anatomy to grow a human, and a lot of what comes with that is trying to heal everything that we encounter, because obviously we want to grow the healthiest human possible. So the way that manifests in a world that doesn't really understand the power of the feminine essence is by women being taught or programmed or subconsciously told to heal the shit out of everything that they encounter. I think this is a really good time to talk about what we mean by women in Awakening Sanctuary.
Yes.
And really what
Hold
we're
saying. I've got something for you.
Okay.
Hold on, I've got a prop.
I have a feeling I know what it is. Yeah, also. When we say women, we're really just speaking to those who identify as having the lived experience as a female.
So the way that I would describe our approach right now to this space is that if you are somebody who is a cisgendered woman, you were born a woman, and you identify as female, that is fantastic. We'd love to have you. We also are opening the space to people that identify as non-binary, or that identify as, kind of in the space where they're transitioning into womanhood. And so if you're familiar with, really like big figures in the media today, when Olivia and I were discussing this, I said to her, I wouldn't want Dylan more excluded, to feel like she was excluded. And I really want to make this as inclusive as possible. And I think there's a really strong correlation between people that are sensitive to knowing and recognizing masculine versus feminine energy in their body, and being aware that you're not just a body. And so they're in some ways already very awakened to the fact that there's so much more than just our physical form. And for the most part, when we say women's program, that is what we do.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. One thing that I want to really highlight too is, I think that there would be maybe a misconception around work like this, when we're saying, learn to own your clairvoyance, learn to see energy. There may be a fear that would take you out of the world, and make it hard for you to relate to people who don't have that lived experience. But I actually have found it to be the complete opposite. I have found that in being able to really know who I am and to hold my energetic space, going to that conversation of boundaries that we were talking about earlier, and really being able to hold my energetic space, I have the ability to relate to people more, because I'm not trying to be anything for them anymore. I'm just like, this is me.
Yes.
This is who I am. Take it or leave it. Do I connect with everyone? No, of course not. But I'm no longer drained by social interactions because I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. And that is often what's happening when you're getting drained by social encounters. There's a lot of other things that could be happening too, but at a basic level.
at a basic level, that is exhausting, that masking, that pretending to be something else, and having that persona. It's very draining. And also the other part to that might be an inability to manage energy when you're sensitive and when your energetic field's kind of open and you're always, ooh, a new one, always pulling different energy into your space to feel and perceive the world as a highly sensitive person, and then not being able to move that energy back out. So it's almost like pouring water into your own gas tank when you leave the house. And then you're like, why am I so tired all the time? Why do social interactions drain me? You're trying to fuel your vehicle with energy that's not yours. And so the question becomes, how do you like that one?
Yeah.
The question becomes, how do we learn how to be in the world, interact with the world, not take it on, and not become the things that are happening around us? So like if you think about the way that the world is right now, there's a lot of chaos and energy around the world shifting and changing, and a worry that everything's going to go to shit. And so, I mean, like in the last 20, 30 years, as long as I've been alive, I don't know that there's ever been a single time when the general collective wasn't assuming that everything was going to go to hell, right? Like during the Y2K bug, or the Mayan calendar. There were just so many different things, like bird flu, Zika. There was all these different like chaoses happening in the world, and every single time, bless you, there was this like kind of collective push that everything was going to just fall apart. And even though we've just come out of COVID, where things have really radically changed since that time, you don't have to become the chaos, and you don't have to become the disruption that's happening in the world. You can kind of be at the eye of the storm when you have the ability to manage tools and just be in your own energy. And so in a way, you can see what's going on, but you don't have to become it in the same way that you do when you're a sensitive, open empath that's always taking on emotions and taking on, you know, interactions and taking on, you know, somebody else's fatigue. It's just, you know, it's a lot easier to just exist.
I feel like I want to go into empath for a moment, because I have some thoughts about the word empath. And, you know, I think that in a lot of spiritual languaging, and I know you don't use it this way, but I think in a lot of spiritual languaging, it's used as like, it's not my fault. Like, I'm an empath. I'm an empath. It's not my fault. Like,
it's used as a way to be a victim to the energy that is affecting you. It says I'm an empath, so, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. It's a very disempowering term.
It's an open channel, and like that's not true. And 100% of people who are empaths were most likely neurodivergent children who didn't have their needs met. Like, that's what being an empath is, in my opinion, is someone who was traumatized and forced in a sense, because they didn't have a choice when they were very young. They were forced to surrender their boundaries. And so it turned into a high level of empathy in order to attune to the needs of everyone else around you so that you could survive and have your needs met, which at a certain age were probably like, you know, being loved and approved of.
You took the words right out of my mouth, verbatim. Verbatim. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, I think that some people, when they hear this later on, talk about, you know, the empath experience, and they're like, well, Melanie, Olivia, I am the effect of energy. That is my experience of it. And that's not to invalidate that experience, because if you don't have the tools to manage it, it is that. Yeah. Because I was there. I was there, girl.
Same.
I'd leave the house to go to the grocery store. I would panic. I'd have anxiety. I had to leave. I couldn't go do social events. Talking to people and socializing drained me. All of it. Taking on other people's emotions, having a great day, walking by somebody who's sad, and all of a sudden I'm crying for no reason. I'm telling you, we get it. You do get it. But,
alcohol, honestly.
Well, yeah, I did that too. I did that profusely, and to the point where I just, you know, needed to find something else that was going to actually help in the long term and help me manage that energy and not numb it, because we can go into a state of always trying to find a distraction, always trying to find something that is going to put up a little bit of a barrier between that stimuli and that overwhelm. And it's really a coping mechanism to help you regulate. Should we go into kind of what the program is, like the different?
Yes, and feel free to ask questions. If anyone's in here and has a question, feel free to type it in the little comment box. We'd love to answer your questions. But yes, our program is composed into 4 different courses, and we are starting with just the basics. So you can come into that very foundational level, and you can just really learn the very basic tools for defining your boundaries and for owning your energetic space. If you are anything like either of us, you're going to want to know a lot more than that. I'm on to crystal number 3, by the way. If you're anything like us, you're going to know a lot more than that. And that's what we have developed the other 3 courses for, is to really go in depth. Like we were saying in the beginning, you know, once you have the tools, and there's all these different dimensions of energy that you can practice reading, and eventually we get into healing in our 3rd course, Energy Alchemy. So it really depends how far you want to go. We do have quite a fantastic deal for those of you who want to be in the certification program, which is going through all 4 courses and being certified as an intuitive reader and healer. But you can just come into our 1st level as well and really get those tools for yourself. And you don't have to go further than that. You don't have to like journey into the Akashic Records and get a healing master and do all the more advanced things. If you identify with this conversation as an empath or as neurodivergent, even just the foundational level of learning is going to be so powerful.
I would agree. And I have a little bit of an outline here talking about Awakening Sanctuary and what our women's intuitive training is,
Great.
Just to kind of like list it out a little bit. So our women's intuitive training is going to be held over Zoom, and they're once weekly classes that are about an hour and a half long. Might go a little bit longer for some of them, but that's all right.
Get into the later levels, probably longer, I think.
Right. And then you're also going to be connecting with a bunch of people that are in the program, but you're also going to be receiving staff support, so one-on-one. So this is not one of those things where you sign up and you're given a bunch of different courses and you kind of just have to do it on your own, and you can't talk to the people that are involved with putting it together and teaching. It's very interactive, it's very community-centered, and we want it to be that way, and we want you to be supported. So we've structured a couple of different spaces where you can get one-on-one support with us and connect with other people that are going to be there, that are developing their intuition and that are having similar experiences to you, and that are opening that ability, and that are sensitive, and that have experienced similar things. Because a big part of this, and a big piece to why we wanted to create this, is that we want people to have a safe space to explore your ability, but also to connect with others, because it can be so isolating.
Yeah.
I mean, how isolating was it when you first had those experiences that are a little more spiritual and nobody else around you gets it and they think you're crazy?
Yeah. I just talked to all my spirit friends and mostly hung out with animals.
It's awesome. I had an abrupt spiritual awakening after kind of trying to numb it for a really long time and make it go away, and thought I was losing my mind. I was convinced that I was totally nuts. Turns out
we're glad that you made it through the other side.
Oh my God. It was rough. But when you have other people that get it, then you don't have to go through that. Then you have that validation. Then you have other people that are saying, yes, I have experienced that. I've had a similar experience that was crazy. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah. Let
me support you through that. So the other parts to this is that when you sign up for the entire training course, you also get emotional sovereignty. Which is Olivia's emotional regulation and somatic practice offering. So please tell us about it while I let my cat out of the room.
Yeah, when you sign up for, hang on, let me just find my 4th list here. When you sign up for the certification through Awakening Sanctuary, you get access to everything else that I have to offer, which is Sanctuary, which is my bi-weekly breathwork classes, emotional sovereignty, which is my space for emotional regulation and really learning to work with the nervous system and create that safety in the body. We're going to be covering some levels of that in Awakening Sanctuary as well as we go throughout the intuitive training. We're definitely going to be weaving in some somatic practices, but you really get like everything when you sign up for Awakening Sanctuary.
I think that is so awesome. I'm really excited that you're integrating that part and opening it up for everyone. I think that's such a generous offering. And if I were going into an intuitive training program now that didn't offer some sort of space, very large dog, didn't offer some sort of space where I could learn how to emotionally regulate, I think that's such a key piece to being highly sensitive. Is not only looking at spirit and energy, but figuring out how to regulate your body so that you can move through energy and so that you can open to that. And it's such a big integral piece because the body, you can't leave it behind. You have to integrate the whole thing. You're both a body and a spirit. And a lot of the training out there just doesn't really integrate that piece.
And I think we just have to say it. A part of that is because many of the trainings, like even the tools that we learned, were originally taught by a man. And the training that I went through was taught by men. And there's nothing wrong with men, but they do not understand the experience.
You're being generous. I'm just kidding.
Energy in a female body.
Right.
And am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. That was what was really missing for me in my intuitive training, was because I was like, how do I calm, like, sure, I can read the energy, but it doesn't make my body more calm because my body's very sensitive too. And so you're getting both in Awakening Sanctuary, which I think is really, really special. Holy shit, my body is so triggered. What do I do with this? How do I work with this? So a lot of my research and learning after I went through intuitive training was somatic practices, which you guys know I teach this.
The other piece about like this being taught from the male body perspective is that it doesn't incorporate the female experience. And it's not able to because they didn't have a female bodied experience. But that's also why this program's open to people that identify as non-binary and identify as, you know, transitioning into womanhood and or cisgendered women. It's because the experience of being a female or having a female body is very unique. We run a very different level of energy, and we have a lot different sense and sensibility and sensitiveness than men typically do. And not to say that men aren't sensitive, it's that their lived experience is just very different in the world.
An innate part of being a woman is pain. And in our training, we really want to focus on the creation because women know what it's like to experience pain. I think a lot of people, a lot of men can dissociate from the pain very easily. For women, it's like right here all the time. So we validate it, we honor it, we hold space for it, but we're going to focus more on what are we creating, because that is the power of the female energy, is creation.
Very, very true. So the other part to this is that you know, in foundations, you're going to be learning how to access and use basic tools so that you can navigate the world with ease as a highly sensitive person. They're psychic intuitive tools, so you're going to be seeing energy, perceiving energy, and moving that energy essentially so that you don't have to be the effect of it. This is accessing your third eye. It's navigating the world of spirit and learning how to communicate and understand the world of spirit. Just looking at my notes here because I'll just go on a tangent. It is being in the journey to owning your sensitivity. And that is all what Foundations is about. It's key to being sensitive to the world. It's somatic regulation practices. It's emotional sovereignty if you sign up for the whole training. It is finding your calm in a space where the world is total chaos. And it is also your ability to find your way out of feeling stuck or lost. Because if you can see the energy that's making you feel stuck, or you can see the invalidation around your vision for where you want to go in life, you can move it and you can shift it and you can find your answers. And that's what's so beautiful about this type of training, is that nothing is fixed.
Ooh, so well said.
Thank Thank you. I was just going to talk about the second course of intuitive training. It's called Awakening. And in Awakening, you'll learn how to read energy, and you will learn to begin practicing using the ability to read and see energy to shift and manifest in the world. And when people talk about manifesting, I think there's this notion that you just create this thing and it just happens. But really what manifesting is, it's the ability to have something and use your energy to move towards it. And for a lot of us, we have a lot of energy that's blocking our ability to see what that even is. So this is the course where you'll be able to see that energy, move it, and then start to manifest what the next thing is, which is really integrating that divine creative magic into your day-to-day.
Keep going.
Okay.
What's next? What comes after that?
Okay, so energy alchemy.
I love that one. I love that name.
Energy alchemy, where you'll learn how to do energy healings while exploring a range of topics, such as working with healing guides. So if you've ever been interested in healing guides or spirit guides, we are going to be integrating that piece so that you can have your own energetic personal assistant at your fingertips for anything that arises. So if you're out there in the world and you're getting overwhelmed, or you're feeling ungrounded, or you're feeling like you can't find your space, or something triggers the ever living out of you, right? You can call on your healing guide and they can help you in that moment. So even when, maybe you don't have the moment to just, take a break from work, or maybe you're freaking out, you're in the grocery store, or you're in a crowded area, you can just have that support on hand. Using your divine creative energy to create and manifest, exploring the Akashic records, and clearing and releasing karma. And we'll really get into what all of that is, but it is
all the woo-woo shit. We will go woo-woo, but first we're going to get you really grounded.
Yeah. We want to be able to help you get into the body first before we take you all the way out to the edge of the known universe and beyond. So definitely important to get you in the body first and regulated before we go there. Because if we leave the body behind and we just go all the way to the highest astral realm first, you're not going to be able to really integrate that information, which is why Foundations and Awakening is so important. And throughout all of these, you're going to be getting one-on-one staff support. So if anything ever comes up, or you're like, I don't know, I'm not seeing, or this isn't integrating, or I'm really stuck on this thing, we will help you work through that. Next,
final course.
The fourth course is called Empowered, where you'll learn to deepen your healing skills and really own your abilities to empower yourself as the creator in your life. And I think so many of us that are sensitive are in the world, and we're experiencing the world, and we're at the whim of taking on other people's emotions and feeling overwhelmed and having this image of what's not working and being really stuck on it. And this final course really helps you to shift that, heal it, release it for good, especially limiting beliefs and finding the programming around limiting beliefs, and to get to the core of why it's been repeating in your life or stuck, so that you can be in the space of creating from empowerment. We'll be exploring topics such as, just excited, having the space to be just as you are, in total permission to show up in your authentic expression and feel comfortable being there as yourself. Coming out of hiding or masking or making yourself small. Deprogramming limiting beliefs, accessing your astral body so that we can go all the way out there and bring all of your information back in and integrate it. It's really fun. It's really exciting to explore those spiritual realms. And there's a lot of other topics that, we might just have to spring them on you as you enroll. But there are a lot of different...
Until we get deep enough into the course.
Right. So these courses are going to be going on, weekly, at a specific day, at a specific time through Zoom. So they will be kind of building on each other. And if you become certified as an intuitive reader and healer, and you complete the 18-month course, we are going to be offering a really big discount if you want to sign up for the whole program. So you're probably saving over $1,000 when you sign up to just do the program. And that brings the monthly payment amount down a good amount. So it's just a lot more. If you feel like this is for you, if you feel like you're excited about it, if you're feeling called, I would say that is the way to go.
I think it's incredibly accessible. It's less than I paid monthly for my intuitive training. And it was really important to me to make it accessible, but you're also getting a lot in this training. And just to kind of summarize, you know, all of the things that we just talked about that are included in all of the courses in Awakening Sanctuary, I think people get frustrated with things like energy work and everything is energy because they try to go to those highest levels of the astral plane.
This is such a good point.
Being grounded. And the thing is, everything is energy. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I've been doing this for 7 years and it's very true for me. But until you're grounded enough to see the energy that's in front of you as you're working towards the things that you want in your life, and also have the experience and the ability to go into all of these little limiting beliefs and to know where that energy is coming from, which only comes with practice. Like, I wish we could just say, yes, our 6-week training, and then you can, you know, everything is energy and create your reality. And that's just not how it works, because you need to see for you what a past life looks like, what past life energy looks like when you're reading someone and that comes up. You need to see for you what it looks like when someone is ready to release an energy back into their Akashic records. We can't tell you that. We can also hold the space for you to see that for yourself. And it does require like a certain level of commitment, for sure. I mean, it's no small undertaking to step into a 1.5 year intuitive training, but this is the space where you're going to really get that ability to realize that, yeah, everything is energy and you can shift it and change the fabric of your reality.
And I think another big piece to the reason why we've kind of structured it in this way, and it's 18 months, is that what we said, 18 months, is that your clairvoyant ability and your ability to manage energy and perceive and shift energy, it's kind of like a muscle. And you have to build that up over time, and you have to practice. And so sometimes, you know, I see these things that are offered online when it's like 3-day weekend of spiritual activation and ascend to the blah, blah, blah in 3 days. And I'm like, wow, that's great. I love that. But I wonder, you know, like how many people are walking away from that, you know, kind of in the glow of the weekend and then being like, well, because they didn't really integrate that. They didn't really build up that muscle. They didn't really, you know, form a way of living in the world and a habit of being sensitive and managing energy, and kind of it's really, it shifts the way that you live day to day.
Yeah, and without talking about what other people are doing too much, I'll say, you know, in those experiences where you're going to like a 3-day intensive and you're like, oh my God, my whole life changed. A lot of the time what's happening is the practitioner is the one who has the power. And what we're doing with Awakening Sanctuary is we're giving you the power, and it takes more than 3 days. I'm being totally real. But, you know, just because you matched the energy of a 3-day experience and like felt amazing doesn't mean that like you suddenly, like, anyone who's like, I'm going to activate you into being the creator of your reality. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to gaslight you.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough.
I'm going to stop myself.
It's a tough one because there's a difference between getting your answers from somebody else and relying on that to give you certainty versus learning how to find your own certainty and learning how to find your own answers and clear the energy that says that you can't.
Yes.
And that's what these tools really do. And there's so many different facets of being a human being. We can't cover everything in like a month, let alone a week. So we really wanted this training to be super comprehensive so that you have all the tools while you're out there in the world to face anything.
Comprehensive but grounded and accessible, because it takes time to change your life. And this training will truly change your life.
If you're not ready for your life to radically change, I don't recommend it.
Yes,
I seriously
do
don't.
not recommend. Totally. And also, I will say, just to plug myself, sometimes what I see is that people need the emotional, physical, somatic regulation before they can step into something like an 18-month clairvoyant training that is going to radically change your life. So emotional sovereignty is the place that I would recommend. If you're like, wow, I feel really drawn to this, I'm curious, I'm interested, but it just feels like a step that's too big for me right now, to really get into my spaces where we practice that emotional regulation, which can be a really important step if it feels like the intuitive training is just too much right now.
Totally. So we are hosting an open house
Yes.
on 3/26, which is Sunday, and it is a virtual. It is a virtual open house, and you do not have to come in person. You can just be on your computer through Zoom. It is at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We'll probably have it for about an hour to an hour and a half, and during that time, we'll talk about all the different facets of Awakening Sanctuary, our different classes, what the class topics are going to be, answer any of your questions, and then we're going to facilitate a group healing so that you can really feel what it's like to be in a space that's held in an energy where it's safe to let go, and then also to help you kind of take your next step. So whatever that might be.
I love it. I love it. I feel like we've done a great job of just communicating what Awakening Sanctuary is. And yeah, stay tuned because I'm going to be posting about it a lot this month. We start April 11th.
Yeah. We do start April 11th. It's coming up really fast. So if you want to RSVP for the open house, I have that linked in my bio. I'm sure you probably have an RSVP linked somewhere as well.
It's in my bio.
Oh, yay.
And I post it on my story all the time. So just watch our stories, visit our profile. Yeah, I don't know if it's in there right now, but I'll post it after this.
So you're more than welcome to come, even if you're not sure if this is for you, even if you want to just drop in and just get a little healing, come on in.
Yeah.
Come get a little healing. Come experience what it's like. Yeah. No pressure. We'd just love to have you there.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Melanie. I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Olivia.
You're welcome.